What's up, everybody? The draft is over. Thank you, everyone, for participating, especially those that came onto Zoom. I appreciate it. Legendary Giant, Ojo Meister, really believe it or not. Um, Colin Kaepernick, thank you for coming on. I enjoyed talking with you guys. Especially big shout out to the defending champs, Flying Buffalo Wings, Frank's Jets, and N-Team 8000 for coming through, doing the draft with me, and helping me put this board together. It was a lot of fun putting it together and also dissecting everything. And we had a few little tidbits that we were discussing. And afterwards, I was looking at it and I decided to put my own 2 cents in. So I'm going to pick my 5 picks that I thought were very under the radar, great picks. First pick, Flying Buffalo Wings. The 6th round with Devontae Smith. I think Devontae Smith is going to be a beast. And you got him in the 6th round, which I think he could have gone higher. Not only that, next year, you get to get him at the 6th round if you decide to keep him. So I think it's going to be very beneficial for you for the next 2 years. Good pick on that. Next one, my Eli 2-time Super Bowl MVP, getting Ryan Tannehill in the 9th round. He's a potential top 5 quarterback point-wise. It could be in this league. And I got him in the 9th round with Julio Jones and A.J. Brown. I think it's going to be a steal at that position. Speaking of A.J. Brown, N-Team 8000 getting A.J. Brown in the late 3rd round. This guy's a beast. You give him the ball, he's at any time could break it for a touchdown. I was surprised with the receivers that went before him, including running back Darrell Henderson Jr. Great pick, Marco. N-Team 8000. My next one, this goes to Legendary Giant, who I hate because I was going to make this pick next, and you picked him 1 pick before me. Trevor Lawrence. Getting Trevor Lawrence in the 8th round. This goes back to the same thing with Devontae Smith. You have a guy who potentially could be a top 5, top 10 quarterback. And especially with the new rules next year, where the Superflex got passed, so we will be having the Superflex position next year. You're going to need 2 quarterbacks if you want to stay competitive. And having Trevor Lawrence, but not only having him, but you're going to have him in the 8th round next year as a potential keeper, great pickup. Last but not least, Frank's Jets, for the same exact reason. Trey Lance at the 11th round. He's going to take over the San Francisco job. And them trading for him, odds are he's probably going to be successful. So next year, you may have a starting quarterback in the 11th round keeper. Great pickups. Now, my sleeper picks for this year. Frank's Jets in the 13th round, drafting Kenneth Gainwell from Philadelphia. That's a sleeper pick. This is a guy who is probably going to be catching balls out out the backfield. And now this is a PPR league for 1 full point. That's going to benefit him. And as we all know, the running back for the Eagles, I forget his name, Miles Sanders, tends to get injured. So he can become a featured back. Second one was a pick from my team, Eli 2-time Super Bowl MVP. And that's Marquez Callaway. With Michael Thomas out in New Orleans right now, Marquez Callaway goes into that starting slot, and we already saw him this last preseason game. Him and Winston have a great connection. I expect big things from him early on. Next one is Flying Buffalo Wings. Their 10th pick, Jalen Hurts. The reason why I think this is a big 2 reasons. One, you may have your quarterback that you're going to keep for next year. Furthermore, if he does well, you already have Allen. It's a nice trade chip that you have if someone needs a quarterback. I think he's going to be a sleeper. Hurts, unfortunately, I hope he gets injured the 2nd week, but most likely he's going to have a successful year with Philadelphia. The 4th sleeper pick comes from Steel Curtain. In the 12th round, drafting Sony Michel, who just got traded to the Rams, and most likely is probably going to be eventually their starting running back. Michelle actually is good, I believe anyway. I just think in New England, it doesn't matter if you're good or not. If you fit the system for that week, you're going to get the ball. I actually think he's going to be successful in the Rams, where I know they're going to look to run the ball. So I think that's a nice sleeper pick to get Michelle in the 12th round. And my final one is from Ridley's Believe It or Not. In the 8th round, drafting Michael Pittman Jr. I believe Michael Pittman Jr. is going to be the main number 1 wide receiver for the Indianapolis Colts. So to get him in the 8th round, I think it's going to be a steal. So those are my sleeper picks. And to end this nice little 5-pick opinion-based thing that I'm doing here, I'm going to go with the 5 most questionable calls. You know what? Let's make that 6. Because there were some really questionable picks in this draft. First one, I actually didn't find this. Well, I did find it questionable how early the pick came. However, I think this could be a feast or famine pick. Because this pick could be a potential MVP of the league, or it could be the biggest bust in football. And that's Ojo Meister's 6th round pick, Jameis Winston, quarterback for the Saints. Now, listen, he's had success before. His biggest issues were turnovers. We saw what Sean Payton did to Drew Brees' career. I can see him doing the same thing with Winston's career, and if so, Winston could be a huge addition. And that could be big numbers. That being said, in the 6th round, I think that was way too early to draft him. Second questionable call comes from Bushwick Hitman, who I actually believe won this draft. Looking at every team on here, Bushwick Hitman, man, you had a ridiculous... Kamara, Allen Robinson, CeeDee Lamb, Aaron Rodgers, Edmonds, Robinson from Jacksonville, Fuller in your... Like, you've got some great players. Adam Thielen as your 4th round pick? What were you thinking? Dude, I mean, there was some guy. You had Pitts, you had Claypool, you had Sutton, you had all the... Listen, I know Thielen gets touchdowns, but you know he's at the tail end of his career. I was just shocked. Him in the 4th round, I thought it was a reach. The next goes to Gotham Knights. Now, I'm looking at your draft. Okay. Darrell Henderson in the 3rd round, very questionable call. Especially when you have guys like Waller, guys like A.J. Brown, still available in the draft. Swift from Detroit, and you went with Henderson Jr. Right after it's been announced that Michel's been traded to the Rams, so he may not even be the full-time running back. That was questionable call number 1. Then, we look a little further down. You draft both the Miami and the New Orleans defense in the 10th and 12th round. Okay, some people, 2 defenses. All right, maybe you like both of them. You couldn't choose, so you chose both. Then on your 14th and 15th pick, back-to-back kickers. That's a head-scratcher. That's my number 3 questionable call. Next up, M-Team 8000. Your first few picks are amazing. Derrick Henry, DeAndre Hopkins, A.J. Brown, Cooper Kupp, Tom Brady. Then Brandon Cooks are the number 1 receiver for you. But as you look. You only had 2 running backs on your entire team. Probably the best back in the league in Derrick Henry. And David Johnson, the best back in the league 5 years ago. I think he's a 3rd-string running back now. Questionable call not drafting any more running backs. Mixon is available on my team if you want to make a trade. Next up, Brooklyn Giants. You picked up the Ravens defense and Justin Tucker. Great kicker, great defense. The 5th and 6th round? You drafted your kicker and your defense in the 5th and 6th round when there were still so many position players still available? I find that questionable, man. But the most questionable call of the night goes to Steel Curtain. Steel Curtain, who, after having Hill and Metcalf as their 1-2 picks, then drafted Lamar Jackson, then drafts 2 backup running backs in Hunt and Mostert. Even Mostert may become maybe the starting back, but I think Trey Lance is going to take over that spot anyway. Followed by Zach Ertz in the 6th round, the backup tight end from the Eagles who they're looking to trade. Now listen, you may have some inside information, and you may know that Hurts may be going to the Jets or maybe going to Indianapolis, and that's why you. If so, good pick. If not, very questionable. A backup tight end in the 6th round, especially when there were so many other guys out there that you could have picked. But then we go a few more rounds down. And we look at the 9th round, you drafted Marquez Valdez-Scantling. Valdez-Scantling. Now, I'm looking at all the picks of Marvin Jones. You had guys like Fournette. You had Jones. You had Jarvis Landry. Marquez Valdez-Scantling. I think he's had like 2 good games in like 3 years. That was a very, very, very questionable call. So that was my 2 cents for this draft. Look, as we all know, the drafts are not the season. The championship is not won in the draft. It's just a good foundation. As someone said earlier, I forgot who it was. It can be lost in the draft. Hopefully, that's not the case for you. Make sure scout those waiver wires. Listen, if you're missing a certain position and you need upgrades in, and you have too much of another, trades, man. That's the best way to do it. You guys have a good week. I'm going to reach out to you guys right before the season starts. Do a little trash talking. I got the defending champs in week 1. Alex, you're going down. I'm going to sleep tonight with this draft board because I love my team. I'm so in love with my team. So tonight I'm going to wrap myself in the draft board, feel close and feel safe, and enjoy the start of my championship team. You guys have a good week. Talk to you guys later.